Hey friends, let me start with something brutal and tragic that happened in Hong Kong today. When a fire kills over 60 people, leaves hundreds missing, and burns through a Hong Kong apartment block for more than a day, people call it a tragedy, but I call it something else, a warning. Because this fire didn't just burn a building, it burned away the last illusion that Hong Kong still had the governance it once prided itself on. This wasn't just bad luck. This wasn't just one corrupt contractor that they just arrested. This was exactly what happens when a city is slowly transformed into a CCP-style political machine, where loyalty matters more than competence, and disaster just becomes inevitable. So my deepest condolences to everyone in Hong Kong and all who have been affected by this horrific tragedy. The fact that a disaster of this scale could happen in a modern global city in 2025 speaks to the profound collapse in governance that Hong Kong had suffered since the Chinese Communist Party took control in 1997. Over the past 2 decades, Hong Kong has been just steadily hollowed out. Its fragile democracy is dismantled, its rule of law trampled, and public opinion treated as an inconvenience rather than an important voice to be heard. And today's catastrophe shows the consequences. Even fundamental areas like fire safety and construction safe oversight have deteriorated. The smoke, the flames, and the grief on the faces of Hong Kong residents are the stark, painful evidence of what happens when a city is stripped of transparency and freedom. Now, what actually happened? On November 26, a massive blaze tore through a residential area in Tai Po district of Hong Kong. The buildings were wrapped in bamboo scaffolding and plastic sheeting for renovation, and turning the entire exterior into a fuse. While the exact cause of the fire is unknown, but police have admitted that the outdated bamboo scaffolding has helped the fire to spread quickly across the 8 apartments. And Hong Kong city officials are now finally meeting to discuss a move to metal scaffolding instead. And then by the time firefighters reached the upper floors, the structures were completely engulfed. At least 65 people are confirmed dead, and dozens more are in critical conditions. And the number of missing? Hundreds. Hong Kong has not seen anything this deadly in decades. But here's the real question. How did this happen in one of Asia's most advanced cosmopolitan cities? Well, the answer takes us straight into the heart of how the CCP governs and why tragedies like this do not stay isolated. Ever since the CCP takeover of Hong Kong, Hong Kong's governance has been transformed or re-engineered to mirror the mainland China. Political royalty first and public accountability last. Fire safety oversight, the building inspections, and regulatory enforcement all become like just box checking exercises, not real safeguards. And this tragedy exposes what happens when technical governance is subordinated to political correctness. Hong Kong used to have watchdog media, regulators with teeth, a civil service that told the truth, a public that could demand accountability. But after the national security law passed by the CCP, every one of these tracks was weakened. When journalists cannot independently investigate, when whistleblowers fear retaliation, when institutions cannot be criticized, these small risks accumulate and small safety gaps turn into mass casualties. This fire wasn't the first sign. It was the first catastrophe the government couldn't hide. A fire like this is rarely just one bad company. It is the systemic hollowing out of oversight. And what we saw in Hong Kong today looks exactly like a mainland construction scandal. In the Chinese mainland, construction and renovation scandals are routine, almost happens daily, because contractors cut corners and cut costs to win bids, and officials look away if they are politically connected. Safety standards are barely enforced, and inspectors don't have independence. And now this model has slowly crept into Hong Kong through, those mainland developers and state-connected contractors, and now a Hong Kong bureaucracy promoted for royalty to Beijing rather than technical competence. So this tragedy is symptomatic of a CCP governance culture, where speed and royalty outweigh public safety. In a healthy governance system, a tragedy of this scale would, trigger citywide outcry and resignations and call for systemic reform. But now, in this CCP governance style, they would just maybe arrest a few low-level guys, assign the blame to the contractor, and announce a promise to investigate deeply, and then absolutely no senior official takes responsibility. Hong Kong has now adopted this playbook. And this is the CCP model of crisis management. Just punish some small fish to protect the system. And Hong Kongers already saying it out loud. This now feels like a mainland city. The fire really exposed this real cost of mainlandization. The more mainland reshapes Hong Kong, the more Hong Kong inherits mainland weakness. The shoddy regulation, the declining governance quality, the reduced transparency, the absence of watchdog journalism. And once you hollow out these institutions, the city doesn't collapse overnight. It collapses slowly, and then all at once, a huge disaster. And this fire was the all at once, and reviewed the decay, the rotting inside that has been building beneath the surface. This tragedy in Hong Kong wasn't just, a fire. It was a referendum on a governance model. And the result was clear. When political royalty replaces professional competence, when bureaucratic accountability disappears, disasters are predictable. They're unavoidable. And if the world wants to understand the real cost of CCP-style governance, don't just look at Beijing's beautiful slogans. Look at what is actually happening in Hong Kong today. Hong Kong's tragedy wasn't caused only by, an accidental fire. It was, again, caused by the slow mainlandization of Hong Kong's governance.